I recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Swalwell, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. And Mr. Rosenstein and Mr. Wray, thank you both for your service, and I hope you pass along my thanks to the men and women who serve the Department of Justice and the Bureau. This morning, Donald Trump, our president, tweeted, "When is Bob Mueller going to list his conflicts of interest?" Mr. Rosenstein, does Bob Mueller have any conflicts of interest?
Chairman, if there were any conflicts of interest that were brought to our attention, I would discuss it with Mr. Mueller, and then there could be review within the department if there were a credible allegation of a conflict of interest. And so I'm not aware of any disqualifying conflict of interest.
In your experience at the department, are you aware ever, in your experience of the department's history, of an unindicted subject of an investigation being given evidence that exists in the case where that person's a subject?
I wouldn't want to comment on what has ever happened, but generally that would not be our practice.
And do you intend to change that with the request that Rudy Giuliani, the president's counsel, has made that unindicted information would be given over to the president as it relates to the Russian investigation?
I'm not aware of any request that Mr. Giuliani has made to me.
Mr. Wray, you agree that the FBI's responsibility is to prevent attacks on America?
That's one of many of our responsibilities, yes.
Would you agree that in 2016, Russia electronically, through weaponizing social media and hacking emails, attacked our democracy?
I think that's a shorthand for what was in the intelligence community assessment, which I have every reason to accept.
This morning, Mr. Wray, the president tweeted, "Russia continues to say they had nothing to do with meddling." Do you believe that Russia had something to do with the meddling that occurred in the last election?
As I think indicated, I think the intelligence community's assessment, which I agree with, is that Russia attempted to sow discord in our country in an effort to influence the last election. As the Deputy Attorney General mentioned, there's also now an indictment through the Special Counsel's Office that speaks to much the same subject.
And Mr. Wray, has President Trump personally told you to use your resources at the FBI to counter future election meddling by the Russians?
We did, as I think the White House has reported and disclosed, we did have a meeting not just with the FBI, but with the Deputy Attorney General, with the Homeland Security Secretary. I think Director Coates may have been there, the Attorney General maybe also, where the whole focus was on making sure that we are doing what we should be doing
Was the president
collectively.
Was the president
chaired the meeting, so yes.
Okay. Did he personally, though, express that he wanted the FBI to devote resources to counter Russian meddling?
I don't remember the exact words in the meeting, but the gist of it was to make sure we're doing, all of us, not just the FBI, but all of the parts of the government that have responsibility for protecting our country against foreign influence, that we're all doing what we should be doing. If there's more that we can be doing, that we're doing that.
Mr. Rosenstein, has President Trump contacted you either personally, by phone, or in writing with respect to the Russia investigation?
Sir, in my capacity as Deputy Attorney General, I do have meetings with the President. And I don't discuss my conversations with the President other than to say I have not received any improper order from the President to do something that I believe was wrong.
What would you do if the President did give you an improper order?
Well, I wouldn't follow any improper orders, sir.
I've read the Inspector General report about Mr. Strzok, and I've heard how he's been characterized today, and I, too, share your belief that he acted inappropriately, and we shouldn't allow opinions to get in the way of law enforcement duties. And the Inspector General found that he had opinions that were distasteful, especially toward our president, candidate Trump, but that there was no finding that that influenced the investigation. I just want to ask, are you aware of Mr. Strzok setting up a June 9th meeting at Trump Tower where the president's son-in-law, and campaign chairman met with individuals seeking to offer dirt from the Russians on Hillary Clinton? Did he set that up, or was he involved in that in any way?
I have no personal knowledge about that.
And did Mr. Strzok ask candidate Trump, or write a speech for candidate Trump in the summer of 2016 to invite the Russians to conduct further hacking? Was that a part of any finding that you had?
Not to my knowledge.
Do you find it, Director Wray, unhelpful that the president would tweet in the manner that he did this morning and the public comments he's made where he doesn't acknowledge that Russia interfered in our election, yet you are tasked with trying to counter Russian interference in our election?
Congressman, there are a lot of opinions out there about a lot of things, including on Twitter. I'm not really a Twitter guy, and our folks aren't really either. We're more focused on just trying to make sure we get our work done.
Thank you, and the country's counting on you as we go into the midterms. I yield back.